Also Februar ist nicht wirklich mein Lieblingsmonat. Es ist kalt und dunkel und es wundert mich nicht, dass viele Menschen depressiv sind. Aber halt, ich sehe da gerade etwas, das perfekt zu meiner Stimmung passt. Hier in der Berggasse befindet sich das Museum des berühmten Psychotherapeuten Dr. Sigmund Freud. Na, mal sehen, ob ein Besuch da drinnen meine Laune heben kann.
Who was Sigmund Freud? Well, you could describe him as the father of psychoanalysis. But let's start at the beginning. Sigmund Freud was born on the 6th of May 1856 in Freiberg, Moravia, which once was a part of the Austrian Empire, into a wealthy Jewish family. But due to the economic crisis of 1859, his parents had to move to Vienna. Little Sigmund was a very good student and passed his exams with distinction. At first, he wanted to study law, but then decided to go for medicine and finally graduated in 1881 and achieved his Doctor of Medicine. He became interested in brain anatomy and even tried to cure his morphine-addicted friend with cocaine, but unfortunately the attempt failed. During a study trip to Paris, he got in touch with what was called hysteria. Freud was also fascinated by hypnotic and suggestion therapies, but only while collaborating with the well-known physician Joseph Breuer, the term psychoanalysis developed. Sigmund Freud considered sexual violence as a cause of mental disorders and created his theory of the Oedipus complex, which means that sons develop a desire for sexual involvement with their mother and daughters with their father, while at the same time they are experiencing a sense of rivalry with the parent of the same sex. Nonetheless controversial was Freud's concept of penis envy. In this theory, he claims that psychological problems of women are based on the fact that they lack a penis and therefore develop the feelings of envy. The counterpart is the boy's castration anxiety. Moreover, he classified homosexuality as a sexual perversion. Well, as I've already said, controversial theories. During his research, Freud discovered that there must be an unconscious, which is responsible for most human actions. He divided the psyche into three parts: the Ich, ego, the Es, it, and the Über-Ich, super-ego. Ich is the center of reason and critical thinking. Here we're trying to solve problems and conflicts. We perceive reality. The Ich is partly innate and partly shaped by experience. In the Es, we find all our instincts and needs, such as lust, hatred, love, hunger, or thirst. Feelings that are innate in all of us. The Über-Ich contains our moral thinking, our conscience, and our definition of good and evil. So you could say all things that were formed by our social environment. Are you still with me? Well, the human psyche is a very complicated thing, isn't it? Okay, but now let's go back to a few biographical facts. On the 13th of September 1886, Freud married Martha Bernays, who bore him 6 children. In 1900, Freud published his first major work, The Interpretation of Dreams. Despite his Jewish roots, Freud considered himself an atheist and even dared to criticize his own religion. But along with the upcoming anti-Semitism in the late 19th century, he found his way back to his religious roots. However, he never stopped describing himself as an enemy of religion. In 1891, Freud moved to Berggasse 19. In 1902, he founded the Psychologische Mittwochsgesellschaft, the Psychological Wednesday Society, where he met with Alfred Adler and other former students at his home to discuss new psychological methods. The First World War plunged Freud into economic disaster, but right after the war he devoted himself assiduously to his research work and wrote numerous books, including Jenseits des Lustprinzips, Beyond the Pleasure Principle, and Das Ich und das Es, the ego and the it. However, Sigmund Freud didn't look after his physical health. Throughout the years, he was smoking an average of 20 cigarettes a day, So it's not surprising that he was diagnosed with palate cancer and a big part of his jaw had to be removed. But the political situation got worse again. On the 12th of March 1938, German troops marched into Austria. Under the Nazi regime, Freud's books were burned, his daughter Anna was interrogated by the Gestapo, and all Jewish families had to fear for their lives. However, Freud was able to collect enough money for the so-called Reichsfluchtsteuer, a kind of a getaway tax that permitted him to flee with several family members to London. His 4 sisters, who couldn't leave Vienna, were murdered in 1942 in a concentration camp. Freud had to undergo further operations, but his condition worsened. He asked his doctor for euthanasia, who gave him a lethal dose of morphine on the 23rd of September 1939. Sigmund Freud's final resting place is a Greek urn in London. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, developed a lot of therapies that are currently being used in psychotherapeutic treatment.
Und wer ist auf der ehemaligen 50-Schilling-Note abgebildet? Sigmund Freud. So, da wir jetzt so viel über die Psyche gesprochen haben, wenden wir uns in unserer heutigen Lektion dem Körper zu. Aber zuvor kommt was? Natürlich, die Lösung eurer Aufgabe. Ich liebe meinen Freund. Er liebt seine Freundin. Ich gebe deinem Kind Geld. Du gibst meiner Schwester Geld. But maybe let's take a look at some vocabulary out of the text of Sigmund Freud. Vokabel. Die Krankheit. Die Psyche. Die Seele. Das Gehirn. Die Sexualität. Die Lust. Der Hass. Die Liebe. Der Hunger. Der Durst. Die Psychologie. Die Therapie. Und nun kommen wir wie versprochen zu ein paar wichtigen Körperteilen. Der Kopf, das Gesicht, die Augen, die Nase, die Ohren, die Lippen, der Hals, der Rücken, die Arme, die Hände, die Finger, der Bauch, der Po oder das Gesäß, die Beine, die Füße, die Zehen. I know, these were quite a lot of new words, but you can repeat them a couple of times or even better, write them down. Grammatik. Ja, ja, ich kann eure Freude sehen, aber es muss sein. Wir haben ja bereits die Gegenwart, Präsens, kennengelernt, also ich gehe, ich esse, ich sitze. Aber werfen wir einmal einen Blick in die Zukunft. Man bildet die Zukunft, das Futur, mit dem Wort werden. Also zum Beispiel, ich werde gehen, ich werde essen, ich werde sitzen. However, the major difficulty lies in the word order. So, let's take a look at the following example. Ich werde morgen ins Kino gehen. Between ich werde and gehen, there's morgen ins Kino. But you can also say, morgen werde ich ins Kino gehen. Just as before, the word order in this phrase is also very important. You simply can't say, morgen ich werde ins Kino gehen. Das ist falsch. This is wrong. Also entweder ich werde morgen ins Kino gehen oder morgen werde ich ins Kino gehen. But what if I want to go to the movies with my boyfriend? How would you build the sentence in this case? Ich werde morgen mit meinem Freund ins Kino gehen. And again we can see that between ich werde and gehen, there's nearly a whole phrase. Noch eine Steigerung. Ich werde morgen mit meinem Freund und seiner Schwester ins Kino gehen. And once again, we find the verb gehen at the very end. That's why in the German language you should never interrupt your conversation partner, as you'll never know which verb he'll use at the end of the sentence. Ich werde, du wirst, er, sie, es wird, wir werden, ihr werdet, sie werden, sie werden. Und weil wir das jetzt schon so gut können, gleich ein paar Sätze. Sätze.
Ich werde dir die Zukunft voraussagen. Ich werde dir die Zukunft voraussagen. Du wirst dich verlieben. Du wirst dich verlieben. Dieser Mensch wird dich verzaubern. Dieser Mensch wird dich verzaubern. Ihr werdet viele Kinder bekommen. Ihr werdet viele Kinder bekommen. Die Kinder werden sehr lieb sein. Die Kinder werden sehr lieb sein. Ihr werdet alle glücklich und zufrieden leben. Ihr werdet alle glücklich und zufrieden leben.
Aufgabe. Please arrange this jumbled sentence in correct order. Ins Theater. Wir werden am Montag unseren Freunden mit gehen. Puh, das war jetzt sehr intensiv, oder? Aber versucht nicht alles auf einmal zu lernen. Lasst euch Zeit. Wiederholt ein paar Lektionen und schreibt euch die wichtigsten Dinge einfach heraus. Also, bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss. Baba.